Okay, so sit yourself in cross legs. So it's a bit of a chilly morning, isn't it? So we finally hit winter, or at least autumnal weather, by the looks of it, after our very odd warm autumn that we've had so far. So just make sure you stay warm. Just sit yourself into a good cross-legged position. Just have a little wiggle about and hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, and then draw your shoulders down away from your ears. So especially if you've been feeling a bit unwell, this lift of the chest, drawing down of the ears, can be a really nice extension just to wake up the body a little. So I always find this first lift always kind of tells me a fair amount about how my body is feeling. So lift the heart area, lengthen the shoulders away from the ears at the same time, and then look down at the floor, look at something that isn't moving. Soften your jaw and your throat. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top and emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Release your knees, bring your hands into Namaste, pressing the palms firmly together, lengthening your arms, your armpits into your elbows, lifting the heart area, drawing your shoulders down. And then with an exhalation, allow your eyes to just very gently close. Just focusing on filling both lungs evenly, on emptying both lungs evenly. And then with an exhalation, draw your chin down to meet your chest. Lift your chest up to meet your chin. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area, and then gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to gently open and the focus to softly come back. Just hold onto your knees, elevate your chest upwards, really driving the heart area up, drawing the shoulders down. So there's this lift here, and then you really lengthen the shoulders down away from your ears. Take a deep inhalation, and then with the following exhalation, turn to the right. Just observe how your body responds to the turn. Observe the sensations that the turn induce, and breathe evenly, using the out breath to intensify the turn. And come back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left again, just observing how the body responds to the pose, whether it responds more to one side than the other. Just filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, emptying the lungs as you extend. And then gently come back to the center. Just come off your lift and then just sit back on your heels and lift and open the chest, elevating the chest upwards. Just wriggle into your hips, wriggle into your heels, bringing the outside of the heels into the insides of the, bringing the outsides of the hips of the buttocks into the insides of the heels, lift up into the chest. And then come forwards, hinging at the hips. If you're avoiding forward bends, then just come forward a little. Just feel how the arms help you to maintain control of the lift of the chest. Just breathing evenly and deeply listening to the breath. Aiming to keep the seat bones down in contact with the heels. Just listening to the sound of the breath. Come up onto your knees, turn your toes under, and then with bent knees initially come up into dog down. Bending your knees so you can scoop the seat bones up towards the ceiling. The seat bones and the tailbone up towards the ceiling, and then begin to straighten your legs, tightening the kneecaps. Maintain the depth of the breath. Turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, broadening the backs of the thighs. Just working with emphasis on the out breath, exerting into the out breath. Okay, step your feet forwards, come up into a standing position, and then just get a couple of blocks for your hands for Uttanasana or for half Uttanasana, and then bring your feet as wide apart as your mat. So lining the edges of the feet with the edges of your mat. Just tighten the kneecaps, lift up into the chest, elevate the arms up towards the ceiling. Take a deep inhalation in through the nose and then hinge at the hips. Keep the head lifted, keep the arms lifted. As you come forwards, hinging at the hips, and then release the hands down so that the fingertips come onto the blocks. So activate your legs again. So really work into the kneecaps, pressing the kneecaps firmly into the sockets, and then hitting the kneecaps through to the back of the knee. Lifting the frontal thigh muscle up towards the top of the leg and turning the fronts of the thighs inwards. So that then you can pick up the seat bones. Lift the seat bones away from the backs of the thighs and project the chin and the chest forwards. So just find the legs, feel the legs, because in this pose you shouldn't really be able to see your legs, but not at this stage anyway. So really activate your legs, feel where your legs are in 3 dimensions and activate them, make them work evenly, make the left leg talk to the right leg and vice versa, so that they're working with evenness. Projecting the front of the chest forwards, lifting the heart area, keeping the head lifted. If you can go down any lower, then do, but if you've got a bad back, then just stay at the higher edge. Just breathing evenly and deeply, lifting up into the chest. If you can reach down to the floor, then do, but keep the front chest elevating away from the legs. So you can't see your legs, but feel them. Feel that they're really actively engaged. You can't see your back, but can you draw the shoulder blades in towards the front chest? Can you draw the muscles of the back down towards the hips, lifting the front of the chest upwards, the skin of the front of the chest upwards? So these are actions that you can't see, but if you focus on the physical body, then you can feel them. And so then you can see them through that feeling. If you can go any further, keep the front chest lifted, reach around the backs of your heels. Now you can see at least your feet, but are you working the legs? Are you extending the spine? So don't be distracted by what you can see. Engage with what you can feel. Drawing the body through the legs if you're in this final stage. But keeping the legs working as they were in dog down, as they were in half Uttanasana. And then release your hands down to the floor, projecting the chin and the chest forwards. And then bring your hands into your hips and then bend your knees on the way up if you need to, and then come up into Tadasana. Just to be in Tadasana, inner edge of the feet together. Lifting up into the chest. Breathing evenly and deeply, listening to the breath. Just raise your arms forwards and then interlock. Your fingers turn the palms all the way out and then raise your arms over your head. Just listen to the breath. So if you're feeling a little dizzy, Andrew, then you can always go into supta baddha. Lifting up into the chest, drawing your shoulder blades to get your elbows towards each other, lifting up into the palms. And then release your arms, lift up into your chest, stretch your arms forwards. Just do the incorrect or the unnatural interlock of the fingers so that the opposite index finger is on the top of the stack. And then again, turn the palms outwards and raise your arms over your head. Breathing evenly and deeply listening to the breath. And then gently release your arms, but feel that you can continue to lift the heart area upwards. Lift up into the chest, bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump your feet apart. So bring in the legs nice and wide, turn your left toes in and the right leg and foot all the way out, and then bring in the chest to face the front, stretch out into your arms, and then come over into dog down. Just feeling the stretch in the legs, but lifting from the feet into the hips, up into the chest. Turning the chest up to face the ceiling. Looking up if you can. Just breathing evenly and deeply, looking down at the foot. And then lifting the heart area up a little more so that the head is directly over the foot. Squeezing that front leg buttock bone forwards and then turning the abdomen to face the ceiling. And then come back to center. Just hold on to your hips for a second, swap the feet around, turn the right toes in, and the left leg and foot all the way out, lift up into the chest, spreading the toes. Bringing the arms out nice and wide, and then coming over into trikonasana. Turning the chest up to face the ceiling, looking up. Just feeling the stretch of the hamstrings, the stretch of the legs, extending from the feet into the hips, up into the heart area. Breathing evenly, deeply. And then reach up, come back to the center, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together, come back into Tadasana, lifting up into the chest. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Just listening to your breath. And then bring your arms out nice and wide into the chest. Step or jump your feet a little wider than last time. Turn your left toes in, your right leg and foot all the way out. And then coming back to face the front. So again, just look down at your feet and line this heel up with the instep or the toes of the back foot. So we do Virabhadrasana 2. Just keep the chest facing the front. Broaden the pelvis by turning the legs outwards. So from the inner leg to the outer leg. Stretch your arms out. Keep the keep the left leg really straight, and then bend the knee of the right leg. So the left leg stays straight, tightened at the kneecap. The right leg comes into a right angle. So you really stretch and open the chest. Stretch and open the legs. Extend into the fingers. Look over the middle finger of the right hand. So try not to collapse into that front leg. Push really firmly back into that left heel. Keep the kneecap tightened at that left leg. And then straighten the legs. Release the hands for a second. Swap the feet around. Turn the right toes in. Left leg and foot all the way out. And then again, keeping this back leg really firm, the kneecap tightened. Turning the legs outwards. So having a quick look, making sure that that heel lines up with the instep or the toes of the back foot. Stretching out into the hands. Keeping that right kneecap tightened, and then bend and descend. Find that right angle with that front leg. Look over the middle finger. So push into the right heel. Keep that right leg really firm. Really press into that right heel. Try to make the right leg part of the pose rather than collapsing into that left leg. And then straighten the leg, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together, and then come back into Tadasana. Just lifting up into the chest. Just breathing evenly. So maybe your body is warmed up a little. So listen to the sound of the breath. So we can do Parsvakonasana. So you might want a block for your hands. So have one on either side. If you've got two, then put the blocks where you can reach them. And then come back into Tadasana. So breathe in evenly, just let the breath settle. Bring your arms out nice and wide into the chest, and then step or jump as wide as you were for Virabhadrasana 2. So lift up into the chest, turn the left toes in slightly, the right leg and foot all the way out. Again, just being mindful of that foot alignment, turning the legs outwards so that the pelvis faces the front. Lift up into the chest, stretch out into the arms. Bend that right leg, but keep that left leg straight. And then reach down. Find the outside of the foot or use the block for your hand. Turn the chest up to face the ceiling. And then reach up and over. I went out of ceiling height a little bit on this side. So using the block or the floor, just turning the abdomen from the right to the left. So this is a real sinus cleanser. So it cleans out the sinuses. Just try and keep that lifted arm in line with the bottom leg, with the straight leg, sorry. And then stretch up Come back to the center, just release your arms, swap your feet around. Turn your right toes in, the left leg and foot all the way out, against being mindful of that foot position, keeping this right leg straight, turning the thighs outwards. Stretch out into the arms, bend the front knee, and then reach down, find the floor. Turn the chest, and then reach over. Breathing evenly and deeply. Looking underneath the armpit. And then straighten the top arm from the back to the center. Bring the feet to face the front. And then step or jump your feet back together. And then come back into Tadasana. Breathing evenly and deeply, listening to the breath. Just letting your breath settle, turning the palms outwards so that you really broaden the chest. And then just come down onto your knees. Have your hands shoulder width apart. Bring your palms onto the floor for dog down. Step back, turn your toes under, have your feet hip width apart, and then bring yourself up into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Just feel how your pose feels different. Maybe it feels lighter in certain areas, maybe not in others, but just use your time in dog down to just even out the effort. So get the left and side right talking to the right side. Get the arms talking to the legs, the torso talking to the arms and the legs. So feel that you can work evenly. And then just come down onto your knees, just sit back on your heels for a moment. Just sit back on your heels, lifting the chest, and then observing the lightness of energy flowing through the chest and the arms and the shoulders and the neck and the legs and the hips. Just breathing evenly and deeply, listening to the breath. And then just come down onto your back for supta baddha. So just come down, supta baddha, soles of the feet together, your knees apart, and then just resting your head down onto the floor. Just rest your hands on your lower ribs. If there's stiffness in your hips and it's difficult to stay, then put blocks underneath your thighs. Otherwise, just feel how the straight line of the floor broadens the chest, broadens the lowest ribs, broadens the diaphragm region, broadens the abdomen and the hips. Just breathing evenly and deeply listening to the breath. Listen to the smoothness of the movement of the breath. Just observing when your hands are on your lower ribs, observing the rise and the fall of the abdomen with the breath. Just raise your arms to the ceiling, interlock the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then lengthen your arms along the floor. If there's stiffness in your shoulders, then you can put a folded blanket or some blocks underneath your hands just to support the shoulders. Otherwise, just using the floor. Just feel how lengthening the arms over your head helps to broaden the armpit chest. So breathe into the armpits. Allow the in-breath to be non-resistant. And then raise your arms, interlock the fingers the unnatural way, turn the palms back up to the ceiling, and then again lengthen your arms along the floor. Okay, release your arms, just rest your hands on your lower ribs again. Just a few breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. And then very gently bring your knees together, have your knees together, the feet apart. And then just rock yourself up into a seated position. So we're going to do a couple of gentle back bends. So we're going to do bhujangasana. So sometimes it's known as the cobra. So come onto your front and just come onto your elbows. So have your elbows underneath your shoulders with your palms facing downwards onto the floor, and then pick up the legs and then extend the legs away. So pick up the whole of the leg, turn the front of the thigh inwards as you do so that the heels start to feel like they want to separate. Keep the big toes together, but really consciously turn the fronts of the thighs inwards so that the backs of the thighs feel like they kind of broaden outwards, and then lift up into the chest. So it's just the crocodile to start off with. So just lifting up into the chest, just this gentle crocodile pose, lengthening into the legs. Really press the tops of the feet into the floor and tighten the kneecaps so that you activate your legs. It's the best way to protect your back in a back bend. So turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, backs of the thighs broaden outwards, press the tops of the feet into the floor, tighten the kneecaps, and then lengthen up into the chest. So you might, if you've got a bad back, you might just want to stay here in this crocodile pose. But if you want to go a little further, keep the legs activated in the way that you're doing, and then bring the hands underneath the shoulders. So the important thing with bhujangasana is that you keep the pelvis down on the floor. So really activate your legs in the way that you were working, and then lift up. You don't necessarily straighten your arms, but keep the elbows into the sides of the hips, and then lift up into the chest, driving the chin towards the ceiling if there's no problem with your neck. Lengthening the shoulders away from your ears, lifting the heart area up. And then just gently come down, rest your head on one side, let your arms rest on the floor, to the sides of the body. And then release into the floor, just allow yourself to relax. Just breathing deep and even breaths. With emphasis on the exhalations. Okay, when you're ready, just either come up into the crocodile, lifting the chest again, or bring your hands underneath your shoulders, lengthen into your legs, really working into the legs, pressing the tops of the feet into the floor, tightening the kneecaps, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards so that the backs of the thighs broaden outwards. Tuck the tailbone in, and then come up into bhujangasana, keeping the pelvis down on the floor. Lifting up into the chest. Shoulders away from your ears, elbows into the sides of the body. And then just gently come back down. Just rest your head on the other side. Rest your arms into the floor. And just relax into the floor for a moment. Okay, and then just push your hand into the floor, just underneath your shoulders. Push yourself up into a seated position. Just sit back on your heels and then stretch forwards into Adho Mukha Virasana. Just stretching the front chest forwards. Trying to keep the seat bones down on the heels. You put a folded blanket between the seat bones and the heels, or a block. If they're not staying in contact, Okay, and then when you're ready, just sit yourself just up on your seat bones for a moment. Just lift up into the chest. Just observe your energy. Observe how your energy has changed. Lifting the heart area upwards, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Just observing how your energy has really lifted from when we began. And then just sit yourself into cross legs. So half Padmasana or cross legs, just whichever is most doable for you. And then hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest. Just breathe deeply, even breaths. Breathe even inhalations and even exhalations. And then with an exhalation, turn to the right, drawing your abdomen across your ribs and your shoulders. Using your out breath to move more deeply into the pose. And then come back to the center. Just lift up into the chest, elevating the heart upwards. Take a deep inhalation. And then with an exhalation, turn to the left. Just drawing your abdomen across the ribs and your shoulders. And then come back to the center, hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest. Just lifting the front chest up to the ceiling, drawing your shoulders down. So we're just going to do a little bit of bhramari. So we're going to take deep inhalations, just normal inhalations, and long, slow, deep, deliberate exhalations on a hum until the lungs are empty, like this. And so when the sound stops, that's when your lungs are empty typically. And then it's just a normal inhalation in through the nose and then continual cycles of bhramari. So just as you do it, just focus on the resonance in the sinuses, in the throat, in the chest, and try and draw that resonance down into the rest of the body. Just take a few deep inhalations, deep exhalations, and close your eyes if you want to. Take a normal exhalation, normal inhalation, and then we'll begin. Just remembering that we all have different lung capacities, so just in your own time. And just one more. And then bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. And then when you have finished, just come back down into supta baddha. So we're doing this instead of an inversion, just supta baddha. If your head rolls back, have a block underneath your head. Otherwise, just allow the front of the body to broaden and to open. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So you can always bring a blanket into the back of the head, into the back of the neck to prevent your head from rolling back. Okay, bring your knees together, just stretch your legs out along the mat. Just come up onto your elbows, make sure you're in a really good straight line right down the center of your mat. Have a blanket for underneath your head, just supporting the back of your neck, and then just move any equipment that's in the way out of the way, and then just allow yourself to release into the floor. Close your eyes. Just focusing on normal breaths, but really feel how the lungs expand with the in-breath and contract gently with the out-breath. Unhook the muscles of the arms and the legs. And really allow the physical body to consciously relax into the floor. Unhooking the leg and the arm muscles. Just allowing the physical body to let go into the floor. Releasing into the ground, observing that feeling of lightness that radiates out from the bones to the muscles and into the organs. And then when you're ready to disturb yourself, just wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, and then bring your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. Just a gentle massage on the spine, just bring yourself back into the body, back into the room. And then gently roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in the Namaste, just a final spinal lift. Drawing your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. Being conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the back bends bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel as though you have lifted your energy, giving yourself good positive energy to put into